My friend, you want an interview with me. Now you've got it. Please, ask whatever you want. Well, this is simple. Like I said, I am a shadow librarian, which means I am a librarian, but also a shadow. But I assume that this is not what you want to hear. What you want is, where am I? And what am I? Isn't it? So let's just say the place I am right now is the shadow of the Great Library, which is a topic of another day. And for me, the shadow librarian, I am but a shadow of the past librarian of the Great Library. I am their thought, their moral, their experience, and all of those things, or at least fraction of those things, mashed together by the Great Library to toss into the shadow to maintain the functionality of the ideal of the library. You see, a library will not exist without a librarian. The Great Library had ceased to exist in your world, but the shadow of the Great Library still awaits for the day that the Great Library eventually rebuilt or be reformed into reality. Until that day, the ideal of the Great Library will remain a shadow. And of course, just like I said, there will be no library without a librarian. So here's where I came in, being created from the fraction of the past librarian. So you can say that I am but a symbolic figure to fulfill the position of a librarian. Well, my friend, here's the idea. You see, I am but a two-dimensional figure, and you are a creature from the third dimension, which means I have no concept of sound. But I still have my mind, which I use to communicate with you. Well, could you pull out that drawing software of yours that I could describe it more easily through visual? Here's the idea. This is me, Shadow Librarian, and this is you, Mr. Uploader. Because I am two-dimensional, you are three-dimensional. I cannot communicate directly because I have no concept of how sound, since two-dimensional creatures have no vocal in their system. I have no voice, but I still have my mind. I can use my mind to communicate with you. Because we are in different dimensions, this won't work at all unless I'm willing to risk destroying your mind some way. You know those people that got delusional that always talk about there's a voice in their head and they can hear the voice that other people don't. Sometimes it's because creatures from another dimension are trying to communicate through mind directly, which is stupid because it will only hurt the person they are trying to talk to. So, for the librarian to safely communicate with the outside world, me, and not just me, all of the past librarian will use some kind of intermediate, like a book, a tablet, or a stone, or even a bushfire. Through the medium, we could safely interact with the outside world. But since we don't have a voice and a language, our voice will be translated automatically into the dominant language, the most widespread language in your world, which is English, as you just said. But since we have no idea how the language works in the outside world, we have to borrow the talent from the first dominant creature we met, which in this case is you, my friend. So my English skill highly dependent on your language skill, which apparently is very, very broken. But don't worry, my friend, you will progress. Well, then I think I will have to wait until the day of your demise. Then I will be able to connect to another intermedium and try to communicate with another creature that knows the dominant language of your world.